Hello everyone! In this video I will primarily introduce the various factions involved in the Ubisoft controversy. So let's get started. Explanation of the factions. About DEI, political correctness and cultural appropriation. It may be more familiar to overseas viewers, but there are likely no Japanese people who properly understand these concepts. As I'm also just a Japanese person and don't particularly sympathize with these values, I cannot guarantee accuracy, but I will explain based on what I have recognized and researched. The reason is that without at least some understanding of this concept, it will be difficult to grasp the essence of the upcoming explanations. Honestly, I feel a strong aversion to explaining these topics to Japanese people, who are largely unaware of them, and to teaching about the culture of historical discrimination. But this is necessary for mutual understanding. What is DEI? DEI stands for Diversity, Equity and Inclusion. These concepts aim to create an environment where everyone is treated equally and people from all backgrounds can participate, without fear, respecting the various characteristics and backgrounds individuals bring. Diversity, acknowledging and respecting the presence of different people. This includes differences in gender, age, culture, religion, and abilities. Equity ensures that everyone has equal opportunities. This involves providing support where needed so that no group is disadvantaged. Inclusion, creating an environment where everyone can safely participate, encouraging people to voice their opinions and join in activities. While these principles generally appeal to societal norms in the entertainment world, having characters of diverse races and backgrounds is considered a way to enhance diversity. DEI itself seems to be a sort of patchwork theory originally intended for one-way environments like workplaces and schools. So, when applied to the entertainment industry, contradictions arise in the very ideology. For this reason, proponents are mainly institutions like companies, educational bodies, government agencies, and NGOs. Particularly, initiatives aimed at improving workplace environments and providing equal opportunities in educational institutions seem common. For instance, in the media it touches on two aspects: the culture being depicted, acknowledging and respecting different cultures, and the diverse audience viewing it, creating an environment where everyone can participate without fear. To make this clearer with two examples. In the first case, similar to the idea of cultural appropriation mentioned later, having people of other races portray African tribes or Japanese samurai is deemed inappropriate. In the second case, to ensure enjoyment by diverse individuals, it is encouraged that white, black, Asian, or other people outside their respective cultures portray the roles. In other words, it is good for people outside their respective cultures to portray African tribes or Japanese samurai. While this is contradictory in practice, the emphasis has shifted towards favoring black people, so the contradictions tend to be overlooked. The faction appearing this time supports DEI. Political correctness. Political correctness refers to avoiding words or actions deemed discriminatory, exclusionary, or offensive. It's a mindset aimed at ensuring that language and actions are free from bias or disrespect towards specific groups. Though nearly identical to DEI, their focal points differ. In a way, DEI can be seen as the rear guard, while political correctness is a vanguard. In terms of the gaming industry, DEI focuses on structural diversity and equity within the entire gaming industry, concentrating on long-term shifts in public consciousness. Polycore pays attention to words and expressions within specific works, focusing on short-term shifts in public awareness. DEI targets societal structures, while political correctness focuses on specific individual works. For this reason, supporters include social activists, educators, and media personnel. particularly those sensitive to language used to eliminate discrimination and prejudice. Like DEI, this tends to favor black people in practice. The faction appearing this time supports political correctness. What is cultural appropriation? Cultural appropriation refers to the act of people from one cultural sphere using elements of another culture or religion. Although there is no clear definition, it often leads to controversy. When people from a socially dominant group, the majority white people, appropriate elements from a socially weaker group, the minority, other people of color. These cultural elements can include fashion, hairstyle, symbols, language, music, and more. A simple example would be: it's okay for black or Asian people to dress as medieval knights, but it's not okay for other races to dress in African tribal clothing or Japanese samurai outfits. So it's considered inappropriate for a Japanese person to portray an African tribe and for a black person to portray a samurai. However, it is acceptable for weaker groups, non-whites, to adopt elements from the stronger group, whites. So it's not a problem for black people to dress as medieval knights or kings. Such thinking generally revolves around the idea that the majority is considered white people. In simple terms, it's not black people are the best, but more like white people have a lot already, so they shouldn't take cultural elements from others. However, those who aren't white are weak and should be allowed to use white culture. This is just a simple explanation for Japanese people to understand. I mean, no offense. This is a mindset that exists to some extent in foreign countries. For more details on the differences between racism abroad and the discrimination against foreigners in Japan, this is section My Thoughts in the middle of my explanation. The faction appearing this time supports cultural appropriation, or white supremacy disguised as it. Anti-historical distortion, mostly Japanese. Now here comes our Japan. As the name suggests, this group opposes the distortion of Japanese history. A black protagonist, only 1% of people care about that, but if they don't like it, they just won't engage. 99% of people are concerned about the spreading of false information. That's all. Traditional culture preservationists. These are people who desire accurate depictions of culture and history. Those who pointed out that this or that depiction in games was inaccurate fall into this category. While this group included some Japan-loving foreigners, they were not exclusively Japanese and were a minority overall. Indifferent faction, gamer community is apathetic Japanese. Indifferent faction prioritizes the enjoyment of games and the appeal of their stories. Black people, history, culture, rights infringement, none of that matters to me, I'll just... In short, these people were concerned only with enjoying the game, regardless of its meanings. This group existed in various regions, without any particular cultural focus. Additionally, those who didn't understand the issue of Japanese historical distortion were likely part of this group. In the early days, people who made positive comments about the Black Samurai Yasuke, as if representing the consensus of the Japanese and who were promoted by leftists abroad, also fall into this category. Though they occasionally try to placate the other factions, they were generally ignored by everyone due to the small numbers. They were mocked by some groups both domestically and internationally, being labeled as lacking awareness of early peaceful Japanese. Japanese leftists. I have no idea what the goal is or what benefits they gain, but these are people who want to destroy Japan, or they're ignorant or perhaps just mischievous. The terms right-wing and left-wing vary depending on the country, era, and subject. Generally, the right stands for capitalism, conservatism, emperor affirmation, patriotism, etc. The left stands for socialism, revolution, imperial denial, anti-nationalism, etc. I remember a few teachers from my school days saying, right-wingers are just crazy people blasting military songs from trucks. But honestly, it made me think, are you part of the teachers' union? My impression is that they are closer to semi-gangster, anti-foreigner organization rather than actual right-wingers just using right-wing rhetoric. I also believe that DEI is not generally left-wing, but merely people using left-wing ideas for their own purposes. These are the factions involved. As this is an introduction of the factions, I will end it here. Thank you for watching. Please be sure to check out the next video too. If you liked my content, please consider subscribing to my channel, giving a thumbs up or supporting me. I know I sound presumptuous, but I'm really just barely getting up. Any support through platforms like donation site would be immensely appreciated. It would really help. Well then, goodbye for now.